watching Las Fierbinți. Cipul, partea a doua, feels like walking into a small Romanian village, where the noise of modern life arrives a few seconds late. The echoes of urban myths, government conspiracies, and half-understood science reach Fierbinți distorted, as though filtered through layers of gossip, fear, and imagination. The result is an atmosphere that oscillates between comedy and tragedy. At its core, this episode isn't just about chips or technology. It is about how people react when faced with a world they can no longer read with certainty. The humor of the episode hides a deeper melancholy, the sadness of being left behind, of realizing that the rules of the world have changed while you were still drinking your morning coffee on the porch. The first scene captures this feeling perfectly. Vasile, the mayor, stands in front of a group of villagers, trying to explain what the new electronic ID system means. His words are bureaucratic and calm, but his audience is restless. The camera lingers on their faces, curious, anxious, half distrusting. Celentano squints, as if trying to see the chip floating in the air. Bobița keeps nodding with false understanding, while Gianni whispers theories to Fierbinți about mind control. This simple image, one man speaking reason, surrounded by a crowd that no longer believes in reason, becomes the foundation of the entire episode. What happens next is not chaos for the sake of laughter. It is a collective psychological unraveling. The villagers' fear of the chip represents their fear of being powerless. They live in a world built on personal relationships, where you know who owes you money, who cheated at cards, who sold expired beer. In that world, everything has a name and a face. The idea of an invisible machine that can control them destroys their sense of order. Suddenly, power has no shape, no name, no person to confront. It's just them. This invisible them becomes the monster of the story, and the villagers must fight it with the only tools they know: imagination, gossip, and humor. What's fascinating is how Las Fierbinți turns this social panic into a theater of human behavior. In one of the most memorable sequences, Gianni proclaims that he has heard on the radio that chips can transmit thoughts directly to satellites. He insists that the government wants to steal the villagers' ideas. The absurdity is delightful, but there's a truth hidden within. The villagers' creativity, their freedom to imagine their own lives, is the only thing they possess. The fear that someone could take even that from them resonates deeply. When Branzois begins wearing a metal pot on his head as protection, it's both ridiculous and poetic. He's not protecting himself from radiation. He's protecting the last sanctuary of his autonomy, his mind. The episode balances on that fine line between mockery and empathy. It never laughs cruelly. Instead, it invites the audience to see the beauty of human fragility. When Fierbinți, usually one of the simpler minds in the group, asks if the chip can make him smarter, there's a moment of silence. The others look at him with a mix of pity and amusement. In that silence, we glimpse something raw, the desire to be seen, to be improved, to not be the one left behind. The comedy suddenly feels like a shield covering a deep wound. Cinematically, the episode uses light and sound to amplify its themes. The bright sunlight of the countryside contrasts with the darkness of the villagers' imagination. The director plays with silence, allowing awkward pauses to linger long enough for viewers to sense the absurdity. The distant barking of dogs, the hum of cicadas, and the rustling of leaves create an atmosphere of deceptive peace, as though nature itself doesn't understand the hysteria unfolding among humans. It's this dissonance between the calm of the environment and the chaos of the mind that makes the episode unforgettable. As the story unfolds, Bobica finds yet another way to turn panic into profit. He begins selling cheap removal services, offering to scan villagers with his old metal detector, claiming it can find implants. It's a perfect example of how fear creates markets. Watching him parade around the village, charging small fees and making serious faces, I couldn't help but think of real-world equivalents, those who exploit uncertainty for personal gain. Yet, Bobica is not portrayed as evil. He's simply adapting to the madness around him, proving that in Fierbinți, survival requires a flexible relationship with truth. The dialogue throughout Tipul Partea 2 is rich with double meanings. On the surface, it's a collection of jokes and misunderstandings, but beneath that, it reads like a tragic poem about mistrust. When Aspirina tells Celentano that no one is trying to control him because he doesn't even control himself, it's both a punchline and a revelation. The humor cuts sharply because it exposes a truth about human nature. People fear control from others precisely because they already feel out of control within themselves. The chip, then, becomes a metaphor for guilt, dependence, and the illusion of free will. The turning point of the episode comes during a heated debate at the bar, where everyone tries to decide whether to go to the town hall to protest. The camera moves in circles, following the rhythm of overlapping voices. Each character speaks from a different fear, some from ignorance, others from pride, and a few from sheer boredom. The result is chaotic, but authentic. You can almost feel the humidity of the room, the smell of beer, the nervous laughter. The bar becomes a miniature parliament of the absurd, a place where democracy meets delirium. I find that one of the most profound scenes is not the loudest one, but a quiet exchange between Vasile and Dalida outside the mayor's office. He confesses that sometimes he feels useless, that no matter how many explanations he gives, the people will believe what they want. Dalida, in her calm way, replies that people don't need truth. They need something to believe in. That line changes everything. It reframes the entire episode as a story not about ignorance, but about faith. In Fierbinți, belief replaces knowledge, because belief provides comfort. The villagers may not understand the world, but they can at least agree on their fears. And that agreement creates unity. From a symbolic perspective, the chip functions as an externalization of conscience. It embodies the idea that something unseen monitors our actions, judges us, and shapes our destiny. This is not just a technological concern, it's a spiritual one. Celentano's drunken ramblings about how maybe God has already chipped everyone by putting thoughts in their heads turn into accidental theology. The show manages to blend existential reflection with slapstick comedy in a way that feels effortless. There's also a clever use of generational contrast. The younger characters, like Gianni, claim to understand technology but spread the most nonsense. The older ones, like Firizel and Celentano, don't even pretend. They simply react with instinct. This mirrors real life, where the illusion of understanding can be more dangerous than ignorance itself. The show uses this contrast to comment on how information, when detached from education, becomes superstition, As the episode moves toward its climax, the panic peaks. Someone claims to have seen a van near the fields, supposedly filled with doctors ready to implant chips by force. The entire village mobilizes like an army, armed with pitchforks, sticks, and an admirable lack of strategy. The absurdity of the image is matched only by its poignancy. The villagers are defending their dignity, even if their enemy doesn't exist. It's an act of collective courage, born from collective delusion. The director films this scene with wide angles, showing the dusty roads, the trembling excitement, and the mix of fear and pride on every face. It's both hilarious and heroic. Then comes the anticlimax. The van turns out to be delivering flour. The villagers stand in silence, embarrassed but relieved. Their laughter slowly returns, nervous and shaky, as though trying to erase the memory of their own foolishness. That's the beauty of Las Fierbinți. It allows its characters to be ridiculous without stripping them of their humanity. You laugh, but you also understand them. You see yourself in their confusion, in their desperate need for meaning. In the final minutes, the camera lingers on the sunset over the fields. Firitel and Celentano sit on a bench, drinking beer, discussing what happened. Firitel says that maybe it's better not to know the truth, because if you know everything, life becomes boring. Celentano nods in agreement, declaring that ignorance is freedom. It's a humorous inversion of a famous philosophical phrase, but it feels strangely sincere. The scene fades out on their laughter, a laughter that sounds both genuine and hollow, as if they know deep down that tomorrow another rumor will come, and the cycle will begin again. Tipul Partea Doi succeeds because it captures a delicate truth about human behavior, that people don't fear the unknown, they fear being unprepared for it. The villagers' hysteria is not stupidity, it's an act of self-preservation. In their eyes, the chip is just the latest manifestation of an eternal anxiety, the loss of control over one's life. Whether it's a political system, an economic crisis, or a technological shift, the fear remains the same. The comedy, therefore, becomes a survival mechanism. It allows them to face their helplessness without collapsing under it. The episode also highlights the importance of community. Despite their madness, the villagers face the crisis together. They may be wrong, but they are wrong together. In an age where modern individuals are increasingly isolated, there's something touching about that solidarity. Fierbinți may be ignorant, but it is never lonely. When the villagers laugh, they laugh as one. When they panic as one. That shared emotional experience, however misguided, is what keeps them alive. From a personal point of view, the episode reminded me of the conversations I used to hear growing up in a small town where technology arrived slowly. The fear of change, the reinterpretation of news through imagination, the way elders would transform any new word into myth, it was both frustrating and comforting. Watching Las Fierbinți, I felt as though those voices had found their place on screen. The show doesn't ridicule them, it immortalizes them. By the end, the moral question lingers. Are the villagers truly victims of ignorance, or are they the last guardians of a simpler truth, that maybe too much knowledge can also enslave? When Vasile, exhausted, mutters that he envies them because they can still laugh at everything, we sense that even the educated man carries his own form of fear. Perhaps the real chip isn't in the body but in the mind, the invisible network of worries and dependencies that modern life implants in all of us. Chipul, partea 2, is more than an episode. It is a small philosophical comedy disguised as rural farce. It transforms a rumor into a mirror and laughter into revelation. Every gesture, every misunderstanding, every burst of foolish courage tells us something profound about what it means to be human in a world moving faster than our hearts can follow. When the screen finally fades to black, the fields of Fierbinți remain bathed in the last light of the day, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. The village sleeps again, unchipped, but forever marked by its own imagination.